Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos. You better watch every single one right here at Good Mike Work Commentary. Do it. Do it now.
We have got a brand new WWE champion. I cannot believe it. What's going on, guys? Good Mike Work back at you. Welcome to your WWE Raw review for September 13th, 2021. And I did not expect this outcome as of 24 hours ago. I don't think this was on any of our radars. But WWE, for whatever reason, many possible reasons for what they did tonight, which we'll talk about during the review, but decided to hotshot and pull the trigger on a Big E cash-in, Money in the Bank cash-in, and have him win the WWE title in something that seems like it's probably been in the works for a few days, as Big E did mention Lashley on Friday night on SmackDown. So we saw that whole thing progress today, beginning with Big E's tweet saying that he was going to go to Raw and cash in the briefcase, period. All throughout the show tonight, he told everybody who would listen, I'm cashing it in, I'm cashing it in, I'm cashing it in, I'm cashing it in. And guess what? He went out there and did just that. Interesting strategy. I thought all told a really good story. I liked the way they even kind of did the extra thing with Lashley there tweaking up his knee. I thought all of that fit very beautifully together. We'll kind of go through the implications of this, how long his run might last, if this might be a quick one, which is something that I suggested just a few weeks ago. I'm like, I worry that there's not enough room for Big E right now at the top, at least immediately. What if they give him a quick run now for like a month, take the belt off of him prior to Survivor Series and Rumble time, and then try to give him another run next year as a former world champion? So we had kind of speculated that even that could be a possibility. So we'll really try to digest all of it here and think about where they are going to go next, because we do have Extreme Rules coming up. So I think it's pretty safe to say that's going to be our Lashley and Big E match, and we'll see what goes on there. But in terms of tonight, the moment, the New Day members celebrating together and having that moment together was just very, very heartwarming. And despite whatever reasons you think WWE may have made this decision, it didn't make the moment any less special. And if it was done for a ratings boost, I mean, that kind of is the point, to get good ratings. And we came off a pretty decent SmackDown on Friday. I mean, that show was hot. That crowd was hot. It had a big time show feel to it, and it drew the largest gate in SmackDown history. So WWE wanted to follow that up. They didn't have very promising demo ratings against AEW last week, so a lot of people thought that this might be a way for them just to remind everybody who the big boys in town are, kind of thing. And we'll see what kind of a number this draws tomorrow. But in terms of like the execution and everything that went on here tonight, I thought it was all done really well. I was actually a little bit nervous for Big E's eventual cash-in or cash-in attempt whenever that would happen, because I just didn't know if I really trusted WWE, to do it in I don't know, like an interesting way, or one that the fans would appreciate. So it feels like a lot of times, some of the best moments in WWE are ones that they fall ass backwards into. So if they just wanted to kind of do this to shake things up, get the world talking, take some of the focus off all the buzz over on AEW right now, have some title changes on Raw, our second of the year. Is that correct? Didn't we have two this year? Didn't Lashley beat The Miz, right? And he won the title, and shit, there might have even been another one. I don't know, but we've had two, maybe even three WWE title changes on Raw in the past year. So, for whatever reason, they did what they did, and I really honestly have no problem with it. I'm very happy for Big E. He certainly deserves it. He's probably one of the more charismatic guys they've had, and he's so effortlessly funny, and he has to do very little just to, have that charisma come out. You know, he just has to give you a look or do something weird with his eyes. He is hilarious, and he was funny all throughout the night tonight as well, while also standing up, you know, toe-to-toe with Bobby Lashley. So it was all pretty well done, because, I mean, I like the fact that Lashley tweaked his knee. Boy, they fooled me for a second. When he put Randy Orton through that table, I thought Lashley legitimately hurt himself. And then I'm like, oh, no, they're doing that as a way to get Big E the advantage, and really it's Lashley's own doing. Big E cannot be blamed for anything here. He told everybody what he was going to do. He told everybody on social media. He told the entire world. Showed up in the opening segment. He goes, hey, just so you guys know, I fully intend to cash this in. And then he approached Orton and Lashley again backstage and told them the same thing. So if Lashley decides to go overboard after he defeats Randy Orton, and for some reason he wants to continue the attack and put him through a table and he tweaks his knee, that's his own damn fault. Big E announced to the universe what he was going to do. And if Lashley's too stupid to kind of keep himself focused on what's coming, he should have known that Big E's coming out. Hell, he won the match with 8 minutes left to go. So obviously we're going to be seeing Big E. I would not be fucking around with Randy Orton putting him through tables. I'd be getting ready for my next match, and it cost him. So, you know, that'll obviously lead to the rematch. We're going to get that at Extreme Rules, and I'm not completely convinced that Big E's reign will run beyond that, because I think they're trying to set up Lashley for some big money matches with Roman, with Brock, and whatnot. So at least they were able to move the title here in a way where it really did keep Lashley strong. He had a grueling match with a Hall of Fame caliber wrestler, and then he fucked his knee up at the end, you know, so it's probably booked him as best they could to get the title off of him while still keeping him Bobby Lashley. And I think they succeeded in that. So I had very little issue with all of it, probably just because I was overwhelmed with happiness for Big E, just a big fan of his, obviously. So we're all happy for him here on the channel, and we'll see where it goes from here. But, you know, this is kind of what WWE does. They're so discombobulated. You know, they just kind of throw shit at the wall and just see what sticks type of thing. So if they wanted to give this a shot, you know, I think the fans were happy to see that. Boston's always a fun wrestling town. Big E got the moment. He got the moment with his New Day boys. Shit, man, what else can you ask for? Extremely happy for him. And shit, I don't know, man. I don't think it's got to be a first where the WWE title was passed from one African-American wrestler to another. It's pretty cool. Either way, at the end of the day, Big E's your new champion, and I couldn't be happier. I was worried with the Romans and the Brocks and the Lashleys and the Drews and all of that. I'm like, can Big E wedge his way in there? So, you know, having the briefcase, man, that helped out a lot, and I thought it was, you know, a rare, well-executed kind of storyline and segment there on Monday Night Raw leading up to that whole cash-in at the end. So good stuff there. Anyway, let me roll through to the chat, say hi to you guys officially. Divine Ricks has got a $5 super chat from way earlier before we even went live, but I appreciate that, man. We are going to be talking about NXT here later on. Samoa Joe did forfeit the title on social media yesterday. Everybody's questioning the timing of that, since NXT 2.0 is launching tomorrow with a whole new look, whole new set, new color scheme, the whole deal, and it looks like now they're going to crown a brand new NXT champion tomorrow night in a fatal four-way between O'Reilly, Dunn, Ciampa, and LA Knight, I believe. William Regal announced that today. So we'll be getting into that, and it does seem like the NXT title has been vacant several times. And we got some Johnny Gargano news as well. His contract's coming up. So we got a lot to discuss tonight if we have time. But thank you for being here, Divine. George Morris, what's up, dude? And thank you for the $5 as always. Hey, Greg, how are you doing? Raw 0 out of 10. Do you think AJ Styles will leave WWE for AEW, or do you think he will finish his career in WWE? Be safe. I can't remember the specifics. I think AJ did recently sign a long-term extension that's going to keep him there. So I think he would have to ask to leave. And I feel like based on everything he's done, he's already had his time outside of WWE, all those years in TNA. So I think he's actually a guy that might finish off in WWE. He'd be great in AEW, but, you know, based on where he is in his career and stuff, I kind of feel like he'll just wrap it up there. Because he's another guy that, you know, what greener grass is there in AEW? He's one of those exceptions, you know, a lot like a Daniel Bryan or whatnot, that, you know, he's really been treated well. So if he jumps, I think, you know, he'll have nothing but good things to say about WWE, but I kind of expect him to stick around. Anyway, Oh, Lord. Good to see everybody in here. I can't shout out everybody. We got, Ben and Sam and David and Timothy and JJ. What's going on? Big J, the Random Man, Reese Jones, Atomic Cody, Timothy Hawkins, Charlie, Robert, Ronnie. What's going on, man? Good to see you in here, my friend. I'm really glad you're here. Hopefully, you got a chance to see that Big E title win, and that was damn awesome. Happy you're here as well. Stone Cold 10X, thanks for the $5. Hearing good mic work while the tropical storm is outside. Where are you? I have not been paying attention to the weather. Is there another one? Somewhere down in the Gulf or on the East Coast somewhere? That sucks, man. Good luck. I've been through many of those, and I know what it's like. But if you're listening to me, that must mean you have power. Well, maybe not. You could be listening on your phone. I don't know. Either way, man, thank you, and I'm glad you're here, and stay safe. Deshaun Robinson's here. Thanks for the 5. Big E is the 4th NXT champ to win either the WWE or Universal title. Rollins, Balor, Owens, also the 4th Black champion, Rocky, Kofi, and Lashley. That's fucking great, man. He's only the 4th, huh, from NXT? Crazy. Reese Jones, thank you for the $2. Goldberg Lashley rematch set up with no title. There you go. Old shit. That makes a little bit more sense, doesn't it? Didn't even put that together until just now. They've even been building the deal up between Lashley and Goldberg with the attack of Goldberg's kid. You knew they had to pay that off somewhere. Saudi Arabia likely is going to be where that's going to be paid off. I think, unless actually it could be Extreme Rules. That actually might make more sense now. It might be Goldberg and Lashley at Extreme Rules, like in some sort of a street fight because it's extreme. And then you do Big E and Lashley in Saudi Arabia. And you have the title switch. That might be what we're seeing. Didn't even think about that, Reese. Thanks for pointing that out. Could be onto something there. Stone Cold, thanks for the $2. We haven't mentioned that before. Xavier Woods is the only member now of the New Day to have never won the WWE title. He will likely remain that way, but Xavier's so good, man. At least give him the King of the Ring, He's such a wonderful wrestler, but I'm not sure. I just don't know about him in terms of world champion. Certainly deserving, certainly talented enough. I just don't know. WWE's, they're weird. Population 420, good to see him, man. Met him at SummerSlam a couple of weeks ago. Really good dude. Happy you're here, man. Thanks for the $2. Congrats to Big E. Raw was watchable today. It had a few hiccups, man. We're going to talk about that women's match in a minute where apparently they had a botched finish with, I think it was Tamina and Nikki ASH. Correct. So we'll be getting into that as well. We've got some other news to talk about, like I said, with NXT, Samoa Joe forfeiting the title, Fatal 4-Way tomorrow to crown a new champion. The draft has also been finalized and confirmed for October 1st and 4th. That's a Friday and then a Monday. I'll try to be off for those days so we can do reviews on both draft nights. WWE confirmed that today, so that's a go. That will help bounce and move some people around. Would love to get Drew McIntyre over to SmackDown now that Big E is on Raw. That's something that some of us have been sniffing out for quite some time. It feels like it's going to be that way. And we'll do a draft special, too, and a review and all that, or talk about who could potentially move and who would be, better on the other side. But anyway, we need to start getting into Raw. Like I said, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button for me. And don't forget, we are here now every Wednesdays this fall to watch Dynamite live together. So we're going to do live watch-alongs every Wednesday of Dynamite. We kicked it off last week in a really fun stream. We'll be back at it on Wednesday for more watch-alongs. And tomorrow, I'm dropping a non-live review of Great American Bash 1989. Recorded that. That's in the can now. I'm going to release that sometime tomorrow, so keep a lookout from that. You'll get a video tomorrow, and I'll be back up here for the stream on Wednesday. So 3 days in a row of good mic work. Mark your calendars, thumbs up, subscribe, that sort of shit. And we're off and running here for the fall season on the Good Mic Work channel. Good to see a lot of those sentiments to Big E in the chat there. I think everybody just at the end of the day is just happy for him. And like I said on Twitter earlier, I can only think of like guys like Mick Foley, Daniel Bryan, and maybe a few others if I really think. But Foley and Bryan kind of come to mind as people that I've just immensely happy for when they won the title. And Big E is one of those guys too. Kofi's actually another name, and there's a few, but I put Big E on that list of somebody that I don't care the circumstances. I don't care what WWE's reasoning was for doing this or whatever. I don't care. Just to kind of see that moment, help, kind of get caught up in it. You're just happy for him. And we've always been a big Big E fan over here, and we've been calling for him to be world champion for a while. So the fact that he made it, is pretty amazing and pretty incredible. So very deserving. Should be fun, but I kind of like what Reese said. That probably is a good point. They might be putting the belt on Big E here to allow Goldberg to beat up Lashley or something, but I hope not. Title or no title, I still don't think Goldberg should beat Lashley. But if at least gets the title off of him for now, he can finish that Goldberg shit up and then do the rematch maybe in Saudi Arabia, although I thought Goldberg's contracted dates were up and Saudi Arabia would just be an extra. That's why I thought Goldberg would likely be in Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia probably wants Goldberg. So, shit, it could go either way, I suppose, but does make sense. We'll see how far it goes, how far it lasts, and we'll be getting into all the details here in just a second. 2 weeks before your birthday for the draft, and right on, Jose. Hopefully you'll get some good draft picks for your birthday. Johnny and Candace will probably I thought you said resign. I'm like, what are they resigning? Yeah, because of Candace's pregnancy. Yeah, that is one thing you got to keep in mind. Johnny Gargano is, married, of course, to Candace LeRae, who is under contract to NXT as well, and she's currently pregnant, which means her deal is currently suspended or probably just in limbo until she comes back, and that's what I would assume. I don't know how the contracts work for the women, and if you do become pregnant, if it kind of pauses, I would assume that's the case, and we'll see how long she sticks around or whatever, but you would think that if they're going to have a brand new baby, yeah, Johnny probably would stick around, because then it's going to make traveling a little bit more difficult, even though he'll be stationed mostly in Florida, and so will Candice LeRae, come to think of it. But if, they do move him around or whatever, he could, I guess it just depends. I mean, if they have plans for Johnny Gargano to go to the main roster, he might want to stay, or he might want to go to AEW and jump over there, because they're only traveling on Wednesdays and maybe the occasional Friday. They're not going to be on the road like the main roster is in WWE. So he's got a decision to make. At the end of the day, I just think it's really awesome that it matters again when wrestling contracts are up. We haven't had this. I mean, even in the TNA days, it wasn't really that exciting if somebody's contract came up. And then after TNA became, was any sort of a threat, and those days came and went, it didn't really matter when anybody's contract was up. We barely paid any attention to it on any of the news sites or whatever, because it really, where are they going to go? If they don't sign with WWE, what are they going to go do? They could go to the Indies, they could go to Japan, but at the same time, it's not as exciting as it is now that you have a full-blown competitor that's already swayed a lot of big free agents over to their side. It's no longer just going to be a matter of, just draw him up a new contract, put it in front of him at the next TV, he'll sign it, and that's it. That's basically the way it was for the past, couple of decades. And now that we have another company out there, when a contract comes up, it's interesting, it's fun. I'll support Johnny Gargano wherever he decides to go. He's another guy that I'm not going to smugly say should go to AEW. I think, it seems like now the way, the companies are, it feels like AEW is better for people like Johnny, but he's also been treated extremely well in NXT. He's a multi-time champion. He's been in some of the best feuds and matches in the history of that brand, and he's always doing something. I think The Way is extremely entertaining, and, that, of course, got sidelined a little bit when Candice got pregnant, but all of the dinner with Johnny and Candice, all that stuff. He's a great character, and it's not like he's been spinning his wheels too much or doing, uninspiring, type of angles and shit like that. It's all been pretty good. So he does have a case of not leaving and staying right where he is, but it depends on what WWE's plans are for him as well in terms of the main roster, or if they want to keep him there, or he could jump. Pete Dunne, apparently, there's no word on his contract situation yet. The deal was coming up. No word on whether or not he's re-signed. Tomorrow night might shed some light on that if he comes up short. But if he wins, I think it's pretty safe to say that he'll re-sign. And by the way, the Fatal 4-Way tomorrow is Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne, Tommaso Ciampa, and LA Knight. And I would think that Kyle might kind of be the odds-on favorite, because he had the big win over Adam Cole that, essentially kind of sent him out of NXT. He's kind of got the biggest recent victory under his belt of everybody else, defeating an all-time legend in NXT. So you feel like that would put him at the front of the line. But if the stories are to be believed, what we've been hearing about Vince's vision for NXT and what WWE wants to turn that into, I feel like the guy that resembles that the most of this foursome is LA Knight. And he's somebody that's not exactly that young. So if they want to make some money off him, they don't need to be farting around for the next 3 years and let him get 3 years older. Pull the trigger now. So I have a feeling, might be the odds-on favorite to win that belt tomorrow, and just he'll cut those good promos, and he might be the fit that NXT is looking for in terms of their new vision, new direction, and new look. Where these other guys, aside from Kyle, have had their run at the top, sort of. Pete Dunne with that long NXT UK run, and of course Ciampa with everything he did. O'Reilly, it feels like he'd be the guy that deserves it the most, but Knight might be the new vision for NXT. And a lot of talk if Samoa Joe's injury is even legit. I'm not going to question him. You got to take him at face value, but it could be a work, could be part of it. Joe has had a lot of injuries, didn't really explain what it even was, other than the doctors won't clear him. So he's going to relinquish the title, and it just so happens to be 2 days before the relaunch, the new brand, and the new vision. Makes you wonder. So we'll see. Questions will be answered tomorrow. I got to work. I won't be home to see NXT live, but we will be talking about that a lot on Wednesday during the Dynamite Watch Along. So make sure you're here, interested to see what goes down tomorrow. But right now, I feel like Knight's my early pick. Knight or Kyle, but I think it might be LA. We will see, man. We will see. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here again. Make sure you smash the thumbie uppy, and we're going to talk about Raw now. Now, if you're just joining us, we opened up the podcast here just with overall nutshell thoughts on Raw and the big victory by Big E. Very cool to see. We're going to get to it, but we're going to kind of go through the show in order here, and we'll talk about the main event later on. So anyway, like I said, the WWE draft has been confirmed for October 1st and 4th, a Friday night 1 and Monday night 2. So WWE did confirm that today. We opened up Raw from Boston tonight with Big E coming out. Now, like I said earlier, Big E today, early in the morning for me, tweeted out that he says, I'm just going to let the cat out of the bag. I'm going to go to Raw tonight. I'm going to cash in the Money in the Bank. Well, holy shit. That sparked all sorts of debate on Twitter, a lot of it negative, a lot of people calling out WWE, of course, one of the most beloved wrestlers of the modern era, somebody that everybody universally loves and feels like deserves a run at the top, is on the cusp of becoming WWE champion. So naturally, everybody's going to have a problem with that. So it was just, they're only doing this for ratings and whatnot. I'm like, well, of course they're doing it for ratings. I'm done trying to figure this damn company out. I'm done trusting them to do anything properly. There was a lot of expert wrestling bookers on Twitter today. People that didn't have hair on their nuts when the fucking Spirit Squad debuted are running around Twitter acting like they know what's what. We've all seen what WWE's been doing to us for the past few years. It's been brutal. Monday Night Raw has been brutal, an absolute chore to watch. My numbers here on the review have actually gone down over the past couple of years because of the shittiness of Monday Night Raw. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to watch it. Some of my YouTube colleagues don't even review it anymore. But here we are still plugging away, and we have to sit through this shit every week, and it's getting more ridiculous with each passing month and year. So if WWE, I'm not going to go as far as to say like Vince's backup is up against the wall or they're scared or anything like that of AEW, but AEW has been getting a lot of press lately, a lot of buzz, the free agent signings, and them pulling in pretty respectable ratings when you compare them to where WWE is now. If WWE's doing $2 million and AEW's doing 1.3, that is nothing but a win for AEW. We talked about that last Saturday on the review. I think people are comparing AEW's numbers to like Attitude Era numbers. Of course they suck. WWE's numbers suck compared to that. But when you compare the two of them, when you got a company that's been producing TV for 23 months, and they're getting 50% or more of WWE's rating, and they're doing pretty well or even beating them in some cases in those key demos that everybody cares so much about, that is definitely not something to ignore and brush off. Like I said on Saturday, what if I just decided to make Greg Morgan's Cola and distribute it out to the grocery stores, and within 23 months, I'm doing half the amount of sales of Coke and Pepsi. I would be an American success story. I'd be on the cover of fucking Forbes magazine to have that kind of success that quickly and become the top cola leader, his biggest competitor in less than 2 years. That's pretty awesome. So it's like I think AEW should be commended for that. So if WWE is really a little bit weary of the ratings and say we want to remind everybody what we can do, which was our argument on Saturday about Friday Night SmackDown, they gave us a great show. Granted, it was in the Garden with a great crowd. You had Brock, you had the Demon, a lot of stuff you can't necessarily do every week, but they did show that they can put on a good show when they want to. So the question is, why don't they want to? It's just lazy and shit. So when they decide that they need to ruffle some feathers or get wrestling fans talking about them, they pull this angle here with Big E that, like I said, it feels like probably has been in the works for a few days. I don't think they decided this morning. Maybe it was done since Friday night, or maybe off the heels of that really successful SmackDown, and they say we want to keep the momentum going with a solid Raw. Because if they followed up that SmackDown last week with one of their typical shitty Raws, it would almost undo all of the good that they did with that good show on Friday night. So maybe they wanted to keep it going, keep people talking, and make sure they stay over that 2 million in the ratings and pull in a good number here. USA is probably pretty pissed at them and has been yelling at them a lot, so they wanted to fix it. And, that is now done at the expense, not the expense, but done with Big E coming in to win the title. Is it what their original plan was? Probably not. But shit, sometimes the best stuff they do, they just fall into. Kevin Owens winning the Universal title after Finn Balor got injured. It was just an injury. There was nothing they can do, and they did the next best thing and put Kevin Owens over in one of the greatest Raw matches in history. So if WWE, they are so untrustworthy when it comes to their regular everyday booking. If they just want to hot shot something, you know what? It might just be better than some of the dumb shit they're writing every week during TV. So I was willing to give it a shot with Big E announcing this. I was just hoping that he did cash in, because if he announced it to everybody and then failed his cash in, he'd look pretty dumb for not taking advantage of a situation or whatever. So I was kind of worried for Big E all day, and I'm happy they did what they did. But we're skipping ahead. Big E has to come out first. So Big E, true to his word, shows up very beginning of Monday Night Raw, and he's followed immediately. He gets in the ring. I don't even think he says anything, and RK Bro comes out behind him, followed by Lashley and MVP. So everybody gets in the ring. Lashley and Randy Orton have their big face-off. They're face-to-face, and the camera is picking up Big E kind of in the middle of them, and he's got the briefcase, and he's making funny-ass eyes and funny-ass facial expressions, and he's absolutely cracking me up. He's just hilarious. And, he's looking at the two of them, ooh, really intense. And then he kind of, picks up the mic and he's like, hey, just to remind you guys, I'm still cashing this in tonight. Like, you guys aren't even paying it to you. You better listen. Like, I'm cashing this in. Hello. And they're really kind of focused on each other. And they did wind up explaining, like I said, this might have been in the works for a couple of days, because they inexplicably changed the Extreme Rules match between Lashley and Orton and moved it all the way up to Monday, to tonight. And we heard that a couple of days ago. I'm like, why the fuck are they doing that? So that's why I think this Big E title turn and title switch has actually been, at least been planned since last Friday, it feels like. So MVP claims that Randy Orton politicked to get the match switched to tonight. He went to Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville or whatnot. So at least they tried to explain their frivolous shit in a storyline and say, yeah, Randy Orton did it. And Randy Orton says, I didn't politic. I went and requested that the match be moved up, and they granted my request because I'm Randy fucking Orton and I'm a legend and they'll do whatever I want. So he kind of stood up for himself there. I liked it. I think MVP goes on to talk about Roman and Brock and Big E, or he says Big E is scared of Roman and Brock, and Lashley chimes in like, I'm not, kind of maybe a little foreshadowing to a potential future match between Lashley and Brock Lesnar. But in the end, we see Big E getting right in Lashley's face when Lashley's giving Big E shit, and kind of Big E then turns from Mr. Goofy Jolly Guy to serious guy, and they get right in each other's faces. It was pretty epic stare down there, and Big E does not back down, and then out of nowhere, Randy Orton comes in and lays out Lashley with an RKO. So that match would be in your main event, and all this stuff here was done to set that up. So Big E is there. He's going to cash in. He's telling everybody, and he wouldn't be done telling people because he would do it throughout the night. Very interesting strategy, and one that I'm pretty sure has never been done. Has anybody just gone around and dangled that fucking thing in everybody's face and say, I'm cashing in tonight, cashing in tonight, cashing in tonight, cashing in tonight, and then goes out and does it? I don't think we've seen that yet, but we've had a lot of briefcase winners, and my memory sucks. Let me know in the chat if I'm forgetting somebody. First match of the night, one-on-one encounter between Charlotte Flair and Shayna Baszler. This is one of those wonderful championship contenders match that we love so much and makes so much sense. We get a pretty damn good little promo from Charlotte at Gorilla, and I'm really digging the outfits. I kind of like what she's kind of transitioning a little bit in some of her gear, where it used to be a lot like Rick. It used to be a lot of feathers and a lot of sparkles and a lot of just, over-the-top robes and stuff. And now she's changing it up a little bit. Now it's like some of it's a little bit more leather, and it's all really good-looking stuff, but maybe just not as over-the-top as the peacock shit she used to wear. And I like it. I kind of like her evolution. I just think she looks absolutely great. So she cuts a promo. She's going out to take on Shayna Baszler. Pretty good match here. I'm just bummed that this match was never built to be anything, major. I mean, this is a throwaway match on Raw, and it's a match that's extremely predictable because last week Charlotte defended the title against Nia Jax. Baszler and Jax are having problems. Baszler fucked up the match for Nia Jax and cost her the victory, so naturally they're just going to turn around and do the same thing here to confirm and solidify the split between the two. So you could really see where they were going here, and I'm like, there was a time when Shayna was so damn badass. And I would have loved to see a Shayna and Charlotte showdown, at a different place and a different time. But here, throwaway match on Raw when it could always be so much more. I don't know what the hell the creative team is smoking. I don't want any because it makes you dumb. So we get Charlotte doing her usual stuff. Decent little match between the two. Charlotte does her big top rope moonsault that she's been hitting every single week. That's when Nia Jax comes out and we go to commercial. We come back. Charlotte gets the win by pinning Shayna Baszler after Nia Jax jumps up on the ring apron just like Shayna did to her last week, causing enough distraction for Charlotte to get the win. Happens here. The two argue, and the match is actually made for next week. We'll see if WWE actually follows through with this match, but they did announce that Nia Jax will take on Shayna Baszler next week on Raw, and they'll either do it or they won't. We'll see. They might do something next week to maybe set up an Extreme Rules match between the two. You think they'd do something like that? I mean, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have been together so long that way longer than they should have. They didn't even want to be together to begin with. And then after they lost the titles, I'm like, well, they should go their separate ways, but they never did. So maybe this is a good way to do it. You do a match next week, some DQ bullshit, and then they do a no disqualification match. It might be fun. I mean, those are two rough and tough women. They start beating the shit out of each other for real on pay-per-view like Extreme Rules might be fun, and just have a no-holds-barred match, falls count anywhere match, something like that at Extreme Rules, and then move them or separate them, in the draft just a couple days later. That's what I'd do with them. I'd get them on side, have their little feud here, match tomorrow, blow off at Extreme, or match next week, blow off at Extreme Rules, separate them in the draft. That's the best thing to do there. And you guys let me know, who would you prefer going to SmackDown if it only can be one of them, Nia or Shayna Baszler? I think Baszler might be kind of good on SmackDown. She could maybe rekindle something with Becky. I think some Baszler and Bianca matches might be kind of fun. I don't know. And I don't have much interest at all in what Nia Jax does. So we will see what goes on between those two. But yeah, that is going to be your match likely, and hopefully that'll end quickly. Now, after Charlotte got the win, Alexa Bliss comes down to the ring, and she's got a present. Now, Alexa and Charlotte is booked for Extreme Rules already. That match is set, and Alexa is continuing the mind games with Charlotte. She gives her a present, a box, with a bow on top or whatnot. And Charlotte was like, you know what? I love presents. I'll open it. She opens it up, and it's basically a Lily doll that's got like blonde yellow hair, and it's got like a Raw Women's Championship toy belt around its waist. And she says that, Alexa says that the doll's name is Charlie. And Charlotte doesn't seem to be too freaked out by it. It's a little version of her. Charlie is short for Charlotte, but she doesn't seem to. I kind of like Charlotte in this angle because, some people are a little bit taken aback by the Fiend's shit and Alexa Bliss's stuff or whatever, but Charlotte, she does a good job of hiding any sort of fear that she might have. So there's a brawl after that. I can't remember who starts it. Charlotte might have thrown the doll in her face. They start fighting, and Alexa hits like a Canadian destroyer on Charlotte and leaves her laying. So I don't know. Do you guys think Alexa Bliss is going to beat Charlotte for the title at Extreme Rules? I don't know if I want that or not. Like, what do you guys think? I don't think anybody's really a huge fan of Alexa Bliss and this Lily stuff now that the Fiend is gone. But nobody likes Charlotte either, so I don't know. Spectra, yes, Big E cashed in tonight. He is your new WWE champion. Timothy, I laid out or I pitched a scenario to have Naomi join the Bloodline. You know how Sonya's been like brushing her off every week? I say Naomi 1 week just snaps. I'm sick of being disrespected and just beats the fuck out of Sonya Deville to the point where they have no choice but to fire or suspend, probably fire Sonya Deville for assaulting an official. I mean, Naomi, excuse me, for assaulting an official. And I would have the beating like brutal. I would have like, I know you can't have blood on Fox, but, you know, just fuck up Sonya really bad and really sell it like it's really bad beating. Maybe even put Sonya in the hospital. And then they fire Naomi. And then like a week or two later, you have Paul Heyman approach Adam Pearce, maybe while Sonya's still in the hospital, or maybe she's recovered and he approaches them both and says, I got to talk to you. I have an ultimatum for you. And then, you know, kind of it fades to black. We don't hear the conversation, you know, and then Naomi winds up returning like the following week, but she returns as a heel, like a badass heel, drops all the colorful glow shit, you know, and maybe is dressed a little bit more in black and silver. And she joins in with the Bloodline and becomes a part of that. And Heyman basically used Roman as a bargaining chip, say, hey, look, he's going to walk. He will never defend this title again. You're going to lose, you know, what brings your ratings. You think Vince is going to be happy with that if you guys cause the champion to walk away? So what you're going to do is you're going to rehire Naomi. And of course they have to do it. They have no choice, and they bring her back. But you don't bring Naomi back as a babyface to get revenge on Sonya. You just bring her back as a heel. You know, somebody that maybe Sonya's a little bit more careful around now. And I think Sonya could also get back in the ring too. And if you don't do what I pitched there, I think Sonya could just wind up being Naomi's first opponent. Wouldn't mind it if they went in that direction either. We'll see. But all sorts of fun ideas always flowing here in the chat and on the channel. After the Charlotte and Shayna Baszler match, we got a 6-man match that I paid very little attention to. Drew McIntyre and the Viking Raiders taking on Jinder Mahal, Veer, and Shanky. Now, prior to the match, McIntyre makes his way to the ring first, and he's attacked by the heels, and the Vikings have to come out to kind of make the save. Well, they go to commercial after that. Drew is now pissed, and he basically just wins the 6-man match by himself, fucking up everybody. Claymore somebody for the win. I think it might have been Veer, and got the win for the babyfaces, and the Viking Raiders didn't have to do a whole lot. Interesting match here. Damian Priest has been doing his U.S. Open Challenge thing, and they had announced earlier in the day prior to Raw that Jeff Hardy was going to be accepting the Open Challenge. So this was a big relief for the fans because I believe Hardy was out there last week during the 24/7 shit. And the fans were like, you got to be shitting me. Like, this is what Hardy has been reduced to. You know, a legend, a Hall of Famer. He's out there chasing that green clock belt. You know, it was a travesty. So fans, you know, kind of voiced their displeasure about that. So WWE bounces back here, putting Jeff Hardy in a title match and in between their two entrances. So Damian Priest comes out to the ring first, and then I think we go to commercial. And then when we come back from commercial, instead of going to Jeff's entrance, we cut backstage to more 24/7 Reginald shenanigans. He's being chased around by R-Truth and Gulak and all those fuckers, and he's backflipping off stuff and getting away, and he scurries away, and Tozawa and R-Truth argue with each other at the end. And then we cut back to the arena, and Hardy comes out. So it's like, do you think that was WWE's way of letting us know, okay, we get it. That was, we shouldn't have Hardy in that position, and that was their way of letting us know that they're not going to do that anymore? Because there was just a 24 segment going on and Hardy wasn't a part of it and he was having his own shit, a more important match to worry about. I don't know. Might have been a subtle way of letting the fans know that Hardy won't be messing around with that anymore because it was kind of an odd placement of that segment in between two entrances of a championship match. I don't understand that format at all, but maybe that was the point. Decent match. I like Priest going on a little roll here and having wins against quality opponents, because despite what Jeff Hardy has been doing lately, he still is a quality opponent. He still is a name, you know, just like Goldberg, even though, you know, he's 116 years old, you know, no matter what, if you have it in the record books that you beat Goldberg, that's kind of awesome. So, you know, Damian Priest here continuing his role, putting down quality opponents. Sheamus was on commentary for this whole match. They will face each other at Extreme Rules as well. A little bit kind of a clunky ending here. You know, Jeff's getting old, you know, you can just tell. and it wasn't that great of a finish. It was a rough-looking Reckoning, even though the match was pretty good. He took a rough bump and a rough landing on the Reckoning. It didn't look very good. It almost looked like Jeff, might have tweaked something or whatever, and Priest pinned him for the win. Sheamus immediately hops off commentary to attack Damian Priest, but Priest fights him off, and Sheamus retreats, and that's the end of that. So Priest continues to roll and is still your U.S. champion. You didn't think he dropped the belt on the same night that Big E's going to win the belt, and when he already has a title match set for Extreme Rules. We cut backstage after that. We've got Randy Orton focused. He's got his headphones on. Riddle is behind him, just rambling on. And Big E just shows up, just strolls in, holding his briefcase. He goes, "Oh, sorry, I'm in the wrong room." And he kind of just gets in Randy Orton's face a little bit and says that, "Just want to remind you, I know you got to focus on Bobby Lashley, but if you win, you are going to be facing me. I don't know what else I have to say. I don't think you're taking me very seriously, but I'm going to be cashing this thing in." And they kind of get in each other's face, and then he says, "Toodles," and he leaves. And Riddle says something like, "Toodles, that used to be the name of my pet chameleon," and he just goes on to another tangent. So Riddle continues his hilariousness, and Big E is putting everybody on notice. Got a couple of women's matches next. What a mess. My God. First one, of course, we've got the silly-ass tag team title feud between Tamina and Natalya and Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley. Feels like they got kind of three of the same storylines going on at the same time. Even though they're not all the complete same, they're kind of the same. And that is Mansoor and Ali, Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley, and Riddle and Randy Orton. I don't know how many times they can kind of do this, where one partner's not quite so sure about the other. They keep doing this. I mean, it's working with Riddle and Orton. It's probably the most interesting and more entertaining and most entertaining thing they're doing on Raw currently, at least up until tonight with Big E winning the title. So I guess, stick with what works, I suppose. So they've already kind of been doing that a lot, and Nikki and Rhea are in the back talking prior to the match. It's supposed to be, I guess, Rhea Ripley versus Natalya. That was the advertised match for Raw. So as Nikki is pep-talking Rhea Ripley at Gorilla, the champs show up. They start talking smack. They start brawling with each other. Sonya shows up pissed off. She separates everybody and goes, "Okay, this is what we're going to do. We already have Rhea Ripley versus Natalya later on. Right now, but before that match happens, you guys are going to go out to the ring. Nikki ASH versus Tamina, go." So we go to commercial. We come back, and we have Nikki versus Tamina. So this is a little messy because the finish here sees Nikki ASH hit a tornado DDT onto Tamina. She goes for the cover. The referee counts 3, but Tamina still kind of kicks out, but then her music also hits for some reason. So it's just everybody fucked up here. So it appears that Tamina was probably, they were supposed to 50-50 book this shit. Tamina was going to win this one, and Rhea was going to win the other match, apparently. So they played the wrong music, and they pinned the wrong person. It was just a fucking mess. But to their credit, they didn't try to, it was live. There was nothing they could do, and Tamina's music abruptly stopped, and they played Nikki ASH. So they had Tamina's queued up because obviously that was the finish, and they fucked it up and didn't know what was going on. And when they heard the bell, they just naturally played who the winners was supposed to be's music until they realized that something went wrong. So they need to be a little bit more on top of that one, but it was kind of a funny botch, and I love it when things like that happen. So it always seems to happen, in like women's matches like this that, we don't care about or whatnot. So a little bit of a hiccup there and a miscue. After the match, Tamina then attacks from behind Nikki and lays her out along with Rhea Ripley on the outside of the ring. And we then go to commercial. And when we come back, we're going to pick it up with Natalya and Rhea Ripley. And I know I give Natalya a lot of shit all the time, but tonight, her and Rhea had a nice little match. Wasn't bad. In the end, Rhea tapped her out. And it was kind of silly. Like, I know that the first match obviously was probably, that wasn't the original finish, but, WWE and this beaten champion shit, and sometimes they beat champs twice in the same night. When you have a tag team, you can separate them and beat them twice, even though I think they intended for Tamina to probably win that earlier match. It didn't make this, any better, and it was just so dumb too. Like, after Rhea taps out Natalya, like, both champions lost, Tamina lost, Natalya lost, there's like this really dumb stare down between Nikki and Rhea and the champs from the ring into the aisleway. And Natalya and Tamina are in the aisleway, and Natalya lifts up her belt and looks at it like she won some shit. She just tapped out like an asshole just a minute ago, and now she's like staring at her title. These women are so fucking delusional. It's ridiculous. But both champs go down, and Rhea and Nikki keep rolling. We'll see how long it takes for Rhea just to finally get fed up with Nikki's over-enthusiasm. She is just really all about being BFFs with Rhea Ripley. Eventually, Rhea's going to have to pull back from this or maybe distance herself a bit from Nikki Ash. And when she does, I hope that Nikki goes like full cable guy on her and starts stalking her and, convinces her to go to medieval times, and Janine Garofalo waits on him. Like, I want the whole 9. So I kind of hope that they get a little bit nuts when that relationship starts falling on rocky ground. I'm hoping that maybe Nikki just starts turning crazy. Remember how awesome she was when she was crazy? Back in like the Sanity days, she had a lot of Daphne in her, like she was really just kind of wild. And I loved that Nikki Cross, and I would love it if they could transition maybe back into that at some point down the road. The same way I feel like Alexa Bliss will snap out of her craziness and maybe kind of go back to who she was, and if you notice, they're kind of both crazy right now. These are two that have a long history, Nikki and Alexa, and they're both a little bit nuts right now. So it would be funny if, I don't know, maybe Dr. Shelby got his hands on them, or they went to therapy together, or I don't know, and they're able to come out of these very odd personas that the two of them have. We'll see. But the women's stuff was not pretty tonight on Raw. After that, we got another kind of meaningless filler match here, although I liked everybody involved. Mansoor and Ali teaming up with The New Day, taking on Mace, T-Bar, AJ Styles, and Omos. Decent little match here. Omos smashes Ali for the win. And I do like Mansoor. He came out there doing the Alex Riley dance when they were making their entrances. Ali looks completely frustrated with him. And I want to get behind this angle because every segment that I've seen behind the scene or backstage on TV between these two has been pretty entertaining. I'm just like so deflated on Ali. Like, he was one of my favorite guys, and I thought WWE had been continuously and repeatedly dropping the ball on him with the hacker stuff and then Retribution and how ridiculous that got. And the fact that I felt like if booked properly, they had a potentially career-altering feud lined up between Ali and Kofi that would have had everything, would have given you great matches, athleticism. It would have given you factions on both sides to back it up. And, it would have been... And it would have been long-term booking, because of Ali missing that Elimination Chamber, Kofi getting in, winning the title at WrestleMania, all that stuff. And if they would have circled back and had a big issue between these two, I think it could have been awesome. And here they find themselves just randomly partners on a throwaway Raw match when it could be so much more, kind of like Shayna Baszler and Charlotte that I mentioned earlier. So many matches that could be takeover main events are throwaway matches on Raw, and it's fucking infuriating, man. But anyway, after that 8-man tag, we got a Lashley and MVP interview backstage with that new fella. And, of course, Big E shows up just to remind them, just like he reminded Randy Orton that he's cashing in that fucking briefcase. So look out. In another match I paid very little attention to, Doudrop took on Eva Marie and beat her. Thank God. Piper Niven is a 1,000 times better wrestler than Eva Marie, and I'm glad they didn't pull any weird shit here. I don't know if this is finally it between those two or if they're going to try to do something else. They could go either way there, but I was happy to at least see Doudrop got the win and put down Eva Marie. And then things got a little bit interesting. We cut backstage, or not backstage, but we cut to a vignette or a promo, pre-tape promo from Carrion Cross. And he's kind of I think he's like just in a dark room or, back where they store shit or something. And the lights all dim. And a lot of people pointed this out, that he's kind of doing a nod or a tribute to Sean O'Haire. Now, I wasn't listening much to his promo. I did hear him say that he will not get lost in the shuffle and he will terminate everyone. And I guess he said the old Sean O'Haire quote, "We're not telling you anything you don't already know," and hit the camera with a little wink. So I don't know if they're kind of essentially giving Carrion Cross the same gimmick that Sean O'Haire had that brief time. And what year was that? 2003. I remember very little about it. I'm going to have to go refresh myself on Sean O'Haire because I think around that time I remember like around 03 and 02, I wasn't able to watch SmackDown because my cable provider didn't have UPN or wherever the hell it was being played at the time, or whatever network had it. And I think I missed a lot of that Sean O'Haire stuff, so I wasn't aware of some of the little things he was saying. I was kind of reading what everybody was saying on social media, and apparently Carrion Cross has a well-documented history of being a big fan of Sean O'Haire, and a lot of people did like that gimmick. It looked good. He was a great-looking specimen, you know, so if they want to kind of take something like that, something that he did, and then put that with Cross, I'm all for it. That's not a bad thing at all. Now, I still don't understand why he needs the helmet and the fucking gladiator shit. If you know, they already kind of, like Mick Foley said, kind of watered down his character and persona a little bit, stripping him of Scarlet, and that entrance and all of that. But if they're going to go in this direction with him and kind of give him a gimmick like this, I'd be willing to totally give that a chance. I just can't get past the fucking hell. I just think it's the most ridiculous looking shit ever. So if they could drop that, you know, it's like they came to their senses once before. Farouk, Ron Simmons famously had one of the most ludicrous looking outfits ever. And people were like, why are you doing this to Ron Simmons? He doesn't need that shit. So maybe the light bulb will go off in those heads back there in WWE. And maybe they'll say, okay, lose the helmet and let's go with this. So it's remains to be seen if this was just, you know, one vignette, one promo where he paid a little tribute to, you know, somebody that he admired in Sean O'Haire, or if this is going to be kind of the new character direction of Cross. But if this is going to be the way he is, then I would rather see him come out without that stuff, you know, come out in the black or the, I don't know, trench coat or something like that. You know, Vince McMahon always said, your face is, you know, what everybody sees. I mean, that's what you're selling, you know, your persona on and everything. So why cover it up? I think that he should remain that way. So we'll see. Anyway, kind of cool that he's just not out there dressed silly in a weird match that he'll win, but it's kind of unannounced and, you know, just feels kind of empty. This feels like they're trying to get a footing with him. And, you know, like Foley pointed out, and like a lot of us have, you know, nothing was really broken with him to begin with. But if they insisted on fixing him, fine, at least just don't fix him in a stupid way like that helmet. So if it's going to be this direction now, this is much more promising for Cross and could keep him, you know, near the top of the card if they follow through with it. So we'll see. But I think everybody unanimously, from what I could tell on social media tonight, liked the vignette and the promo from Cross. So that might be a promising sign as it relates to him, because so far, not too sure about it. That leaves us, guys, with the main event, WWE title on the line, advertised a couple of days ago. The Extreme Rules match between Bobby Lashley and Randy Orton has now been moved up to tonight on Monday Night Raw. Title is on the line, and we were wondering why they did that. They tried to explain it away in the opening promo. MVP claiming that Orton politicked to get the match moved up, but really it was to position themselves for this Big E title win. So Big E let everybody know on social media, let everybody know in the opening segment, and let Lashley and Orton know separately throughout the night that he's cashing in the fucking briefcase, and you better pay attention to me. And that would play a part, because these guys, especially Lashley, made a costly mistake by, for some reason, ignoring somebody literally shaking a briefcase, a championship contract in their face and saying, I'm going to use this tonight, and still continues just to, you know, do his own thing, paid the price for it, tweaked his knee, got beat. So we get Lashley and Randy Orton first. This match began at the bottom of the hour, so we had a full 30 minutes to get through all this shit here. And Lashley and Orton, I don't really hate that matchup either. I mean, those two guys haven't really faced that many times, correct? You know, one-on-one. Orton's had, you know, quick pinfall victory over Lashley recently with the RKO and whatnot, but now this is an actual championship one-on-one match here. It was okay, pretty good, but in the end, Randy Orton hits an RKO on Lashley, but Lashley gets lucky. MVP is kind of close to where Lashley is laying, and he helps get him out of the ring so he doesn't get pinned, and they continue to fight. on the outside a little bit. MVP is trying to get involved, but Riddle sort of neutralizes him. But in the end, the guys, like I said, that had a pretty good match. And after all the outside of the ring stuff, they get back in the ring. Eventually, Lashley hits another spear. He had already hit several. Hits a spear again onto Randy Orton and pins him for the win to retain the title. Now, when he pinned him, we had 8 minutes left in the show, according to my clock. So I'm like, sweet, plenty of time to do more here. And we know Big E is going to come out. He's been telling everyone. So the only thing I thought would stop him is if somebody attacked him, or you'd cut to the Tron and you'd see Big E laid out backstage. I was actually worried about that. Maybe Lashley's put a bounty on people before. Wasn't he trying to pay people to injure Drew McIntyre? It would stand to reason he'd do that again. So I thought they might pull some shit like that. A lot of fans thought they were going to do a bait and switch and tease everybody just to get a good rating and then to not do it. But I felt like they were really putting it in our faces, and there was a really good likelihood of him winning the title. So what was interesting about this is that after Lashley wins, they decide to continue beating up Orton and Riddle. And Lashley continues the attack on Randy Orton, pulls him over to the announce table, and winds up putting him through the table. But when he does that, he injures his knee, and he tweaks his knee, and he kind of hobbles up a little bit. And I'm like, oh, fuck. That's so great. It's almost a guarantee now. You know, after this guy has a grueling match against a Hall of Fame caliber wrestler, then he injures his knee. You mean to tell me he's going to beat Big E? What's that word the fans overuse all the time that starts with a B? You know, there was no way that was going to happen. So the minute Lashley came hobbling up on his knee, I was like, we got a new champion. We've got a new champion. And sure enough, there's his music. He comes out, and then they go to commercial, because by this point, we got like 7 minutes left. They cut to commercial. We come back with 2 minutes left, and the match begins. And Big E, I think he does take a spear and kicks out of it. He has one big ending attempt that I think gets reversed by Lashley, but then he gets him up again for a second attempt and hits it this time, puts Bobby Lashley down, pins him for the 1, 2, 3, celebrates with the audience. New Day came out, big group hug. They got to be there with him. Pretty awesome moment. Fans went crazy. I was loving it. Couldn't have happened to a better or nicer or more deserving or quite frankly charismatic talent than Big E. I mean, this guy's got more charisma than most locker rooms have had collectively, you know, and that's true. I mean, he's just oozing it for real. I mean, he's never not funny. His face never doesn't look entertaining. You know, he's just always funny, and he's always working his ass off, and he's big, and he's fucking strong, and it's time. You know, they've been waiting for him for a long time. We all have. And given the way he started, Biggie Langston backing up Dolph and AJ Lee a little bit, and they were kind of moving him into other things, but he never really found his niche until they got that New Day faction going. And even then, at first, it was still missing something. Biggie had to really come out of his shell after the first probably year or two of the New Day. And as each year passed, he started getting crazier and crazier and more entertaining and more comfortable on the main stage doing goofy shit. And he was a stark contrast to who he was when he was NXT champion and when he got called up to the main roster. They were trying to make him like the quiet, you know, vicious, scary guy, when really there was just all kinds of charisma inside of him that needed to come out. And now it's out, and it's gotten him and earned him a WWE title. And man, I can't be happier now. Like we've been talking about all throughout the podcast, why did WWE do this? What was the reasonings behind it? A lot of people felt like WWE wanted to just pull a big rating. And I'm sure we're going to read tweets like that now. Oh, WWE only got a good rating because they put on a good show. No shit. What the hell do you think the point is? You want to put on good shows. And, you know, honestly, this probably was a smart move. You know, you would think that under normal circumstances, WWE wouldn't need to make extreme decisions like this because they should have some, you know, compelling TV and some interesting content anyway without it. But they did come off a really successful SmackDown on Friday. They've gotten some of that buzz back that's been so AEW dominant over the past few weeks with Punk and Bryan and Cole and All Out and everything going on there. They're getting so much press. A lot of people are taking notice. And WWE follows it up with a great SmackDown on Friday from the Garden with a lot of cool shit. And now they didn't want to shit the bed here 2 days later on Monday Night Raw. They want to continue that momentum. So they're like, hey, why not put the title on Big E? You know, I almost trust them to fall ass backwards into something than I do to actually write and plan some shit out. Don't forget, these writers don't even know the fucking WWE champion's name. So I'm not sure if I really trust them to effectively book a Big E cash-in scenario. The best scenario might be when WWE just decides some shit and does it on a whim. They have less time to fuck it up. So they do tend to fall ass backwards into great moments. Sometimes they're completely unintentional. WWE has had shit handed to them on a silver platter, and they've completely squandered it. So, for a lot of guys, I think you might just have to get lucky, and it might have to be just the circumstances and whatever it was. Like Kevin Owens, they put the title on him because Balor got injured, and it turned out to be one of the greatest title victories of all time. Here, WWE may or may not be a bit concerned about the ratings. USA might be giving them shit. So they said, okay, let's give the fans something good. And they did it. And so what does that tell you? Friday night and Monday night, although tonight, you guys can tell me, aside from the cash-in, was tonight's show any good? I think it was okay, but to follow that up with 2 shows, I think was necessary and makes a lot of sense. And it shows that they can do it when they care enough. The problem is they rarely care enough. Sometimes it literally looks like just the laziest shit that we see on Raw. Like they woke up like, oh, tired. Oh, fuck, we got to book Raw. All right, we'll do Lucha Party versus these guys. Let's do 2 matches and a DQ and then an impromptu tag over here. Somebody will interrupt Elias or the Drip Drip show or whatever. I mean, just the same fucking nonsense. There doesn't seem to be any love put behind anything or any real true effort, because I think people are just trying to survive and not go crazy in that damn company. So, when things go right, a lot of times it's not even really of WWE's doing. I think they're too inept, to really do anything that special. They occasionally can, but this might have been better for Big E in the long run. He might have benefited from WWE having this little ratings hissy fit and say, okay, we got to pull in a couple of good ratings, and we got to remind the wrestling world who the kings are. And when we want to get a good rating, we can do one. And we've seen that too, kind of before a little bit. We saw that in NXT when they were going head-to-head with AEW, and then WWE was like, okay, we'll start sending guys there like Roman and Seth, or, didn't they do some shit like that just to try to combat, and they were able to win the ratings a couple of times. So that's the type of stuff that they were able to do with the talent they have. It just makes us wonder why they don't do this a little bit more frequently. So big win for Big E, something that was a feel-good thing for a lot of the fans. I think most people are very happy with him. Hopefully nobody's being too cynical about this. I'm right there with everybody that, criticizes the WWE for the nonsense they feed us on a daily basis, but I'm not cynical enough, to shit on something like this and be so concerned with WWE's motives or their reasonings that it clouds what the real story is here, and that a very, very, very deserving wrestler that should have already been champion has just won the title. And that's awesome. We've had some new guys holding Lashley and Big E both this year. Neither of these guys had held WWE gold before. And we saw them both get on the map this year. So this is not bad. This is all very good. And regardless of what WWE's reasonings were for doing this, it resulted in something that I think is very, very positive. So I'm not going to crucify them and, be idiotic about it. I'll be right there on the front lines talking about how ridiculously horrible this company is on, so many of their programs and their shows. But when they do something good, we're going to say they did something good. I thought SummerSlam weekend was great. This here was very good, and I'm curious and excited to see now what they do with Big E down the road. Now, we talked about that earlier as well. I got some super chats to answer here in a minute, but we talked about 2 possible scenarios here. Either number 1, a rematch at Extreme Rules between Lashley and Big E, which seems likely, although we still have Saudi Arabia coming up as well, and the issue with Goldberg has not yet been resolved since his son was attacked by Lashley. And he's been saying he's not coming for the title, he's coming for Lashley's soul. So he wants to fight Bobby Lashley. So they might put Goldberg and Lashley in some sort of a street fight at Extreme Rules and then do the rematch between Big E and Lashley at Crown Jewel, where Lashley wins the belt back. We might see that, or it could be reversed. Goldberg, apparently his contracted wrestling dates are already filled, so anything he does here is going to have to be extra. We assumed Lashley and Goldberg would face each other at Crown Jewel. I still feel like that might be the case, but the Extreme Rules match might make more sense for their storyline. So it's either going to be Goldberg and Lashley at Extreme Rules and Lashley and Big E or I'm sorry, Goldberg and Lashley at Crown Jewel and Lashley and Big E at Extreme Rules, or vice versa. We'll see. You guys let me know what you think they're going to do there. But I do think it is possible, based on what's coming up on the horizon, that this particular run with Big E might be short-lived. And that's something else we talked about, because if WWE has plans kind of maybe internally, or at least in the back of their mind, for what they want to do for WrestleMania, you got Lashley, you got Brock, you got Roman, you might even potentially have Rock in the mix. You've got some big matches to do and to have, and if they have this stuff kind of factored in their head, but Big E still has the briefcase, and that year of holding it is coming up in May or maybe July, so they didn't want to go too far with it to where it's too late to cash it in. They might have felt like, you know what, if we're going to give him the title, this might have to be it. It might have to be a short run now, and then we try to give him another run down the road as a former champion next year. But we can't really put him in the title picture around WrestleMania time, because we already know what we want to do there. So maybe they're like, let's give it to him now, under the promise that he's going to get the title back next year, even though I highly doubt any of those promises. How Kevin Owens only wound up with one world title run in that company is beyond me. So if they only gave him one, it could be the same thing for Big E. But I feel, like they did with Bray Wyatt for a short time too. He just held the title. He won at Elimination Chamber, dropped it at Mania, and didn't win it back until he was the Fiend or whatnot. But even his first run was like a cup of coffee. So I would not want to see that for Big E, but I can almost understand if they did, because it might just be the only way to really get the belt on Big E. It's either put it on him now, or he fails his cash in down the road. So if those are the two choices we have, I'd take having the title now, have that under his belt. He is now going to go down in the history books as a former WWE champion, and that is something that nobody can ever take away from him. So I think that all makes for a pretty awesome moment tonight on Raw, and very happy for the Big E man. Anywho, I know I got some super chats to answer. I want to see what you guys think of all this shit in the chat. I got all those earlier on. Yeah, me, Jeff Hardy, John Cena, and I think it's myself, Jeff Hardy, John Cena, Stephanie McMahon, and Tom Brady. We're all the same age. Because we're all the same. We're all legends, I mean, no, those guys not quite as much as me, but, they're kind of in my league, and we're all the same age. They're probably proud to be my age. Yeah, we haven't seen another All Elias Wrestling. We haven't seen another Elias promo, have we? Did we get one last week? It's just typical WWE. I don't think it means anything. I don't think it means he's going to AEW or anything like that. But it's not surprising. WWE, do they ever know what the hell's going on, guys? Come on. They are as clueless as the day is long, man. T-Bar and Cross for tag team champions. Yeah, what if Carrion Cross joins T-Bar and Mace? I think it was Angie tonight who called out their booty shorts, which I thought was pretty funny. But I do agree it was a good promo by Cross and such an improvement, and I just hope that they stick with this and they give him a couple more of these, and when he does go back in the ring, he just wears some standard gear. There's no reason to dress him up like Skeletor. There's just no reason to do that at all. So let him cut those promos and let him go out there and beat the shit out of people. The shit writes itself, man. It's like so easy to do, and yet they insist on taking the long way or screwing things up to get to a destination that would be, the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. They don't go in a straight line. They go all fucking rude. They like a crazy straw to the end of the line. It's just ridiculous. They don't need to do all that. And tonight was a promising step forward, I think, for Cross. I'm happy. Very happy about that. Domination Warriors back. Big E Langston is world champion. Take that, NFL. Yeah, fuck you, NFL. That's right. Who was the game tonight on Monday night? I don't even know. Let me pull up ESPN. It was the Raiders winning overtime against the Ravens. Right on. Oh, was that at LA? Were they in Allegiant Stadium? I was just there for SummerSlam. Carr capitalizes on Jackson's fumble with a game-winning TD pass in overtime. Right on. That was probably pretty fun. Anyway, back to the chat. Enough football. Thank you, Mr. E, for that. Barry MK, what do you think of TNA doing a Memorial Monsters Ball match for Daphne? It's the same type of match she got hurt in. Is that what they're doing? I didn't even know that. I was out of the loop. I had a busy day. Even had to go work a couple hours today. Didn't see any wrestling news on that end. That was what gave her, I believe, the concussion, right? And there is a lot of CTE talk as it relates to Daphne and the struggles that she faced when she took her own life and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that's on the surface. I might want to do a little more research on that one. But, yeah, based on your comment there, it doesn't seem like it's a good idea. And it might be unintentionally in bad taste, but in bad taste nonetheless. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's better ways or other ways you could easily tribute Daphne. Thinking of the Ring of Honor show, our buddy Brian Zane did some commentary for that, I think last night, and they had a Daph little sticker on the microphone. Very cool. I think that's where I saw it. I think it was Ring of Honor. But, yeah, that's a shame. Yeah, and Deshaun's right, too. You know, it might not even be a lot of AEW. You know, football is back. Tonight was, the first night of Monday Night Football, so obviously Raw's ratings are going to take a little bit of a slide. And when you compare them, when you combine that with AEW already drawing over 1 million, and Raw, not even against the NFL a few weeks back, drew a 1.4, I can understand the panic in WWE. I mean, if they do a shit show head-to-head with a strong NFL game, and Dynamite loads up, a banger of a card. Puts a title match in the main event, does all sorts of awesome shit. I'm saying there's a chance. Fucking Dumb and Dumber. So you're telling me there's a chance. I think those ratings would be awfully close. If Dynamite can pull in a 1.2 and Raw does a 1.5 or a 1.6, against a strong NFL game, I can understand. So this might be WWE's way of, maybe football is going to save us, football being on, and WWE's so concerned about them not looking too bad in the ratings against what AEW is doing on Wednesdays. That's what the beauty of this is. It's going to force WWE to do what they clearly don't want to do, and that is give us good shows. And now they have to do it because they got AEW breathing down their neck. They got NFL now. USA's pissed off at them, and everybody's mad, so they have no choice but to start trying, which is great. And we're going to benefit from that, to getting some better Monday Night Raws and some better SmackDowns, hopefully. But like we've seen so many times in WWE's past, doing one great show means jack dick. And they could easily crap the bed next week like it's nothing, regardless of whatever NFL game is on. So let's just hope WWE continues the momentum, because if I got to sit and watch wrestling for 3 hours on Monday, I'd rather watch good wrestling than bad. Gave all the fans a big lecture on Saturday about how there's people out there that actually root for the company that they don't like to do shitty. Like all the anti-WWE people wants a bad Raw tonight. Like, why? Why would you root for that? And all the people that subtly or passively aggressively even don't like AEW are going to root for them to get a bad rating or have a bad show. I'm like, that's just so counterproductive to me, and doesn't make any sense for wrestling fans. So we want these shows to be good. I don't want to torture myself on Monday. I want to have fun. And tonight was fun because Big E won the title, and that's just all kinds of awesome, and I couldn't be happier. So we'll see what else you guys have to say in the chat. You deserve it chant. We got that tonight. Once Big E won, I was scrambling trying to get a new thumbnail up and everything, so I wasn't really soaking a lot of that in. G-Man 2015, that is a good question. You wonder if Big E is going to be on SmackDown. He just did show up tonight on Raw. We didn't even really talk about if he's allowed to do that. I suppose that with the briefcase you are, or it's just part of that brand-to-brand invitational nonsense that they just made up. Don't know, but now that he's the champ, I would assume he's a Raw guy. I'd keep him there. The New Day is reunited, but he might have to go back to SmackDown to tie up a loose end or something. Maybe Adam and Sonya and be like, hey, you didn't get our permission to go over there. Now you're champion, so we can't bring you back. But, maybe they bring him in to do a special match on SmackDown. Big E's farewell as WWE champion this Friday. I wouldn't be surprised at all if they bring Big E out there as WWE champion and maybe even have a confrontation with Roman Reigns. That's what I do. You went after that belt because you couldn't take my belt. You know why? Because I'd smash you. I'd smash you like I'm going to smash Brock. I fucking love Roman. I'm in love with Roman Reigns. Number 2 on PWI, my ass. Number 1, if you ask me. I would like to see that on SmackDown if they had Big E just come out, maybe say goodbye to the SmackDown audience now that he's champ, and, maybe do some sort of a run-in. This could be a good way of just having a match. You could do a bunch of run-ins and a schmaz. You could have Brock come out. You could even have Lashley hit the ring or something like that. But you could give us, essentially, on Friday night, if you wanted to, Roman Reigns versus Big E in a non-title match, just champion versus champion, and then schmaz it. Don't even have a winner. Don't worry about it. It's not Survivor Series. Just schmaz it out. Have guys run in, and it would just be a match that we got on SmackDown, a big marquee match. And if they pre-advertise that, like starting tomorrow or something for the week, and just vomit it all over social media as much as they could, they'd probably pull in a pretty decent rating for that too. But I think if you did a match like that, it would have to be set up in the opening segment or something. So I think the best thing to do is probably just advertise Big E for Friday. And then when Big E comes out, you do a confrontation and maybe give us some sort of a cool match that you wouldn't have expected to see on a random SmackDown on Friday. Although, Roman has been pretty busy lately, already defending the title on SmackDown just a couple of weeks ago. So I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if Big E goes over there on Friday. Nick Musser, thank you, man. Happy for Big E. I am happy for him as well. Chris Ruth will be 51 in about 6 weeks. Jesus. Shelton Benjamin is 45. Yikes. G-Man, good to see you. We've got some more supers running in. I think there's one. Deshaun, thanks again, my man. I'm so glad you're here. Holding down the fort with Barry. I'm not sure if Wheezy's here or not. WWE made this title change tonight because of the NFL game. We'll do massive numbers. I didn't watch Raw until the last 10 minutes. Good luck, Raw. Yeah, we'll see what they pull in. You got to remember they were up against football, so I would have loved to see what this rating would be without football, with all the buzz throughout the day. And it might just get a good quarter hour at the end because, the opening segment was Big E basically saying, I'm going to cash in after the main event. So you knew you had 2.5 hours of time between that match. So some people might have decided just to tune in at the end because they knew it was whatever's going to happen was going to happen at the end. So maybe the ratings won't be that great. We'll see. But I would assume that, well, shit, I don't know with NFL. I think with no NFL, they should want not a single digit lower than 2 million, like 2 million people minimum without football. But with football, they might be looking at 1.8, which I still think would be pretty good going head to head with the week 1 Monday Night Football game. And you pull in nearly 2 million viewers, it's not bad. They'll probably be satisfied with that, I would assume. But yeah, I think a lot of that played into this decision. Monday night is starting. AEW did some comparable numbers. USA's losing their minds because they're paying these morons $1 billion to provide shit TV. So they're getting a little antsy. So WWE had no choice but just to do something. It's kind of nice when they do stuff, isn't it? How cool is that? Connor Delaney, what's up? Say hi to your brother Colin. Well, always a big fan of him. And glad you're back, man. Good to see you. Welcome to the chat, and thanks for the $5. I was there the night he showed up on the main roster for the first time at the Slammies in 2012. Now he's WWE champion. That's awesome. Big E did our intro here in the beginning of the podcast as well. You were in the arena when he debuted. That's pretty awesome, and that was 9 years ago now. Holy shit. That's pretty cool. I don't remember where that was. I'm curious what city you're in. Hey, we love Kenny Omega here on this channel. I'm actually kind of kidding. Kenny Omega's fucking great. I don't like that repeated Jim Cornette insult that he has for him, which just makes no sense. Kenny Omega does not have a size problem. He's every bit as big as AJ Styles or anybody else that has won world titles that are his size. I have no idea what Jim Cornette's problem with him is. He is an unbelievable wrestler, and Jim Cornette has been fans of plenty of guys that's had very similar styles to Kenny Omega. So he's just playing up his shtick because he can't admit he's wrong now. He has to double down, and that's all that is. So that Olivier shit is stupid, and just don't like it. I DVR Raw and SmackDown every week. Well, you missed a big one tonight, Big Dub. Oh, yeah, Chris Ruth. I stayed up late and watched the Slammies back in 1987. Still have the original VHS recorded, complete with North Carolina 1987 local commercials. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I wasn't living there. It's Detroit commercials. Detroit commercials is where I was when that played. And I remember I stayed up late with my dad, and we watched it. He was the one that even told me about it. He's like, the Slammies are on. I'm like, the what? He's like, the Slammies, you idiot. We're going to watch it. And we watched it. Luckily, I taped it. Those were the days, man. That Harley Race and Hacksaw Jim Duggan brawl was so much fun. Javon, Harrington, the Universal Champion is undefeated versus the WWE Champion at Survivor Series. That's true. That's hurting the WWE Championship prestige. When is the last time it main evented a show? Yeah, it feels like, but it used to be back that way back in the day too. I kind of used to feel the same way around like 2002, 3, and 4 when it felt like the world title that they just brought out of the trash can essentially and gifted to Triple H was the main event of WrestleMania 20. Think about that. WrestleMania 20. WWE's back goddamn yard, their home, Madison Square Garden, where the WWE title famously changed hands so many times. It wasn't the main event. It was Triple H's big gold belt and Chris Benoit winning that. The WWE title was on the undercard. It used to be like that back in the day too. So that stuff I don't really care too much about now because I understand if WWE wants to try to build the importance of the Universal title, WWE title's already established. So putting the Universal title at the forefront now, I can understand the argument that maybe it diminishes the WWE title a little bit, but I think it does more to, really solidify the importance of the Universal title, putting that on your top star or whatever to, make that title not appear to be the secondary title. Because if it was reversed, then people are like, what the fuck? The Universal title might as well just be the United States title. Maybe people would think that. I don't know. But I do get what you're saying about that. And I think next time you do one of these champion versus champion matches at Survivor Series, the WWE champion should pick up the win. Because, it's been Brock, right? Brock beat AJ and then Daniel Bryan. I was there for the Daniel Bryan show Daniel Bryan match at Staples Center in 2018. And then they did what? Drew and Roman after that. And Roman got the win. So, yeah, man, it's time. It is time. Oh, nice, Mr. E. Raw is in Raleigh next week. Many people consider going to see Big E as champ. I have been to a few Raws and Raleigh myself, and I've been to SummerSlam 2000, 21 years ago in that same arena. Oh, it was in Philly, Connor? Okay, thank you for that. Oh, Kenny Omega is just incredible. I have no issue with him being number one on the PWI. I was actually just kind of kidding. I just really, really, really enjoy the Roman Reigns character. He is so fucking great. He cracks me up. Yeah, the last 2 title changes have been on Raw. We talked about that too, Jordan, that I wasn't sure if there was even a third one that I wasn't thinking of or whatnot. But yeah, we've had a couple of WWE title changes on Monday Night Raw, and that's pretty incredible for this year. It used to happen a little bit more frequently back in the day in the Attitude Era. You'd have multiple changes. I know in 98, I was at a show in 99 when it changed hands, when Austin beat Undertaker for the title after King of the Ring. I was at that show year before Austin beat Kane. And there might have even been another one. No, I don't think so. Oh, 99 had a couple. 99 had Mankind beating Rock. Actually, I think that was taped in 98, aired in 99. And then the show I was at with Austin winning the title. And then I think a couple months later, wasn't it Vince winning the title on SmackDown in 99? So they had at least 3, possibly more, title changes on television in 1999. I can think of 3. Foley, Austin, Vince. And hell, you know what? I think Triple H. Help me out. Did Triple H not beat the Big Show on Raw for the title? I'm pretty sure he did. So I think that was 4 championship title switches on television in 99. I don't think we've ever topped that. Right? All my historians in the chat there. That's just off the top of my head, and I could be wrong about that Triple H one, but I'm pretty sure, unless that happened on pay-per-view, but pretty sure Triple H won on Raw to close out the year. I think it was one of the last Raws of the year, if I'm remembering all that right. It's 22 years ago, and I'm old. Peyton Royce follows you on TikTok. Right on, Jose. You get you some of that. I won't tell Sean Spears nothing. He didn't hear it from me, man. Let's see, did I get all the super chats here? I think so. All right. Well, that kind of wraps it up for all my notes and stuff. What else do we have to talk about? We talked about NXT tomorrow. Samoa Joe forfeiting the title is very interesting timing. I don't feel right about questioning his motives. It just feels gross to me to insinuate that somebody might be not injured when they say they are, but, wrestling's a work, so he might be working us, and this might just be a way to not beat Samoa Joe, but to also kind of relaunch their brand. So if they want to put the title on somebody else and go with a new vision, fine, but I don't know why you had to even take the title off of Carrion Cross in that way. Maybe they just felt like Joe was the toughest guy they had, and if Cross is going to lose, it's probably better that he loses to Joe rather than, Kyle O'Reilly or something like that. So maybe that's the motivation here. There's no word on if the title is going to change. What do you guys think? Do you think they're going to change the design of the title itself? Right now, it's an awful lot of black and an awful lot of gold, like most championship belts are, but some are red, some are blue, some are white. Maybe we get some red, white, and blue, and pink, and purple, and green all mixed into this new championship. Maybe it's the same color scheme as the logo, and they make a new belt. It's possible. They could do that. And like I said, based on the 4 combatants in the Fatal 4-Way that Regal announced, Kyle O'Reilly, Pete Dunne, Tommaso Ciampa, and LA Knight, I kind of feel, based on what we've been reading about Vince McMahon's vision for NXT, I feel like LA Knight fits that mold the best of all 4 of these guys. So we'll see. I feel like the title should go to Kyle based on the fact that he, kind of beat Adam Cole, who is an NXT legend, arguably the greatest champion they've ever had there, and he beat Adam Cole. Cole is gone now. Feel like he would be next in line. However, that new vision that we all hear about, LA Knight's got the promo ability better than any of these guys, really. So right now, I'm kind of eyeballing Knight. He's my pick. He's my early pick for tomorrow, because I just think that with his age and everything, he's not super young, but he's in super good shape, and he's capable of cutting a good promo. He's got that character. He's very comfortable on the mic. He doesn't need that much more improvement, in my mind, to get better in that department. And if WWE wants to make money off of him, you can't just spin your wheels for 3 years and allow him to get older. You should do it while you have the chance. That's why I think there's a real good chance that Knight is going to be the guy tomorrow. I think he's going to win it. I think it's going to be LA Knight. And we'll see how it all looks. Like I said, I got to work. I won't be home live, but you guys need to keep me updated on Twitter if you can. I'm going to try to look at my phone and watch the show as much as I can while I'm at work and try to at least see what I'm looking at here and how the whole vibe looks. And then on Wednesday, we'll make sure to touch on it and talk about it in the Dynamite Watch Along, which should be fun on Wednesday. We're going to make that a Wednesday night tradition, so just keep that in mind and make sure you're here every Wednesday. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video. The algorithm does not like us right now, and we need all the help we can get over here. And we should have a pretty good week. And like I said, I'm going to drop a classic pay-per-view review tomorrow, WCW Great American Bash. This thing was a trip to record. It's basically done. I just got to put it into the feed now. The podcast version of that will be available, as will the audio to this version. I'll push that out to the feed as well, so you'll be able to download it and catch it on the website and catch it on the podcast sites if you want to listen to the audio version. So you'll have this one hitting the feed, and then tomorrow you'll have Great American Bash 1989 available to listen to on demand here on YouTube and in podcast form. And I still need to release my SummerSlam 2005 review that I released while I was on vacation this summer. I need to release that in podcast form as well. So if you are a follower of the podcast on Stitcher, iTunes, Spotify, or iHeartRadio, any of those platforms, you'll see a couple of new podcasts being pushed out in the next couple of days. So make sure you stay tuned and all that stuff. I'll see if there's any final questions, comments, ideas, speculation that we should get into, and then I think I'm going to get on out of here and have me some dinner. Skeletor rocks. I agree, man. I was a big He-Man fan growing up. LA Knight should have a promo against The Rock or Stone Cold one day. He just might. A lot of people consider him kind of a hybrid of the two. He definitely is influenced by them a lot in terms of his promo style, and that would make some pretty fun stuff. LA Knight, where do you think he ranks in terms of MJF? I think MJF is kind of in a league of his own. Oh my God. Today, Maxwell Jacob Friedman tweets out nothing but a picture. Just a picture, a screenshot of Melanie Pillman on Dark Side of the Ring. Only MJF can get away with shit like this. I was like, Maxwell, my God. Oh, my God. I mean, that's pretty cool, I guess. I mean, Pillman, he's had a broken relationship with his mother. He's been trying to rekindle that, so I'm sure I'd like to see MJF like around the boys, only the boys, without any sort of outside eyes at all, and just see how normal he fucking really is, because the way he is, he literally has to stay in character 24/7, and that can't be easy to do. So him tweeting out that today, it's one of those things that was like, God, that's so gnarly, but you just have to laugh. And only he can get away with that. Somebody else doing it, fans, oh, he went too far. And I'm sure there were some people saying those things, but I kind of like that there's certain people that are just exceptions to rules, and you see that in life and business all over the place. And MJF has found himself in this really unique position to where he is, as long as he doesn't say anything too fucked up, he's probably, he's impervious to cancel culture. He's immune to it. It's not going to happen to him unless he just says or does something that's just, unless he gets really racial or homophobic or something like that, which I don't think he will. I think he can pretty much get away with doing and saying whatever he wants. Even if he tells a 6-year-old disabled kid to go fuck himself, he can somehow get away with doing it. And I don't know how he does it, but I admire that. The fact that he has just found a niche to where he's like, you can take your cancel culture and put it inside your rectum because I don't care. Pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. Let me get back down to the bottom here. I stalled. There we go. Yeah, MJF, definitely the realest heel in the business. Would be cool if we get a 3-way promo battle between LA Knight, The Miz, and MJF. That would be good. And I'm still waiting for that MJF and CM Punk confrontation that will be inevitable down the line in AEW. That's coming. And maybe we'll even get it as early as Wednesday. We'll have to see. Now AEW, maybe they want to bounce back with something strong here. This is kind of what made the Monday Night Wars so great. Sometimes a company reacting to the other can fuck up their shit like WWE did. They did that with NXT. NXT is largely dead because they moved it to USA, moved it to 2 hours. All of this was done to hinder the growth of AEW, and they sacrificed one of their own brands to try to do it. So when WWE claims that they're not competition or they don't care, the fucking hell you don't. You bend over backwards to stop the growth of them. Now that that's all changed, we'll have to see. And now they're more of a competitor to WWE's main shows, which is what I think they wanted to be a competitor of all along. Fuck NXT. They wanted to be competitors to the biggest stuff that WWE has. So now that they kind of are that, we'll see if the two companies start trying to one up the other, or whatever. I think WWE honestly is going to find themselves in better positions to throw crazy shit at us to get our attention, because they do so many rewrites. Nothing is set, and even when they do try to advertise a match, they don't follow through with it. We saw that a couple of weeks ago when they advertised Sheamus and Lashley in like one other match and didn't do either one of them. They advertised Lashley and Randy Orton for Extreme Rules. They moved that. Now we got Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax next week. We'll see if they move that. Where AEW feels like, because they do pre-advertise stuff a lot, they've got their TV figured out a couple of weeks in advance. So if they find themselves coming off a really strong WWE show, they might not be in that much of a position to really do something crazy if they already have their show that they think is very good, already set in place, but maybe nothing's going to be super over the top, like WWE is doing. So WWE might find themselves in better position to just pull a good show out of their ass, where AEW is kind of going with their plans. And if they decide to call audibles, it might be a little bit more difficult for them to do it than WWE, because WWE doesn't have any of their shows written, until fucking lunch that day. So AEW doesn't do things like that. So it might be a little harder for them to hotshot stuff or whatnot. But they've got some big shows coming up. Big Dynamite coming up 1 week from Wednesday, at Arthur Ashe. That's going to be a fun one to watch together. I'm ready for that one, man. That's going to be a cool looking arena and all of that. We'll see what they do if we get a Hangman Page return, or if we get a debuting star, or if we even get a title change. I don't know. Might get Daniel Bryan in the ring for the first time. That could be possible. He hasn't wrestled yet. I don't think he'll wrestle on Dynamite on Wednesday. They would have probably advertised that by now. So the first time he gets in the ring, that Arthur Ashe show could be a good spot for that. Would love it. So, and it looks like he is targeting Kenny Omega. So when Page comes back, we'll see what he winds up doing. You know, Adam Cole is now in the mix over there in the Elite, so we could see some guys band together. Still remains to be seen if CM Punk is going to get involved in that main event scene, if he's going to be there to maybe help out Bryan, maybe Page, Bryan, and Punk battle the Elite. I don't know. And they all go off in their little, individual shit. Who knows? Should be fun finding out. Like I said, I'll be ready for Wednesday to watch some Dynamite. So at least we got a pretty good chance of having a pretty good week of wrestling here. Raw tonight crowned a brand new champion, made us all very happy. Dynamite should be a solid show. And hopefully SmackDown will follow up with a good one as well, because we did see the Demon return, and they're going to have to start that stuff with Roman and Balor on Friday. So, Friday they could follow up a great SmackDown last week with another one. You combine that with a good Dynamite on Wednesday and a pretty good Raw tonight. What more can you ask for? This is what we were hoping to see, seeing the companies forcing the other to do better. And we need to see that a lot more on WWE's side than AEW. AEW's riding the wave right now, but WWE's got some issues that need fixing, bad issues that need fixing. So now with the competitor out there, it might wake them up. And that's exactly what we need out of WWE, because as we saw on Friday, as we saw tonight, as we saw at SummerSlam, and as we've seen here and there on pay-per-views and shit, when they want to do it, they can do it. WWE is perfectly capable and has more than enough talent to really give us awesome wrestling shows. It's just whether or not they choose to do it, or if they choose to be just lazy. Lazy. Would the internet implode if Kenny wins the IWGP title on an AEW pay-per-view? I don't know if it would implode, but it would definitely be fun to chat about that. And it feels like they could be leading to something like that, because I do believe Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega have been talking a little bit of smack on the social medias. So if we get that match, holy shit, I could totally see them putting the belt back on Kenny for a short time, maybe to drop it at Wrestle Kingdom, or wrestle at Wrestle Kingdom. Maybe he wins the belt prior, drops it at Wrestle Kingdom, or wins the belt at Wrestle Kingdom and drops it after. I don't know. But any sort of impending match down the road between Kenny and Ibushi or Kenny and Ospreay would be fucking great, and we'll see. We saw Minoru Suzuki. That Suzuki incident shit that was trending yesterday was a trip. I got a huge kick out of reading all that stuff on the internet. But if they're doing stuff like having him come in, I think anything's possible with the working agreement with AEW and New Japan. Things seem to be getting better. I think there was a little bit of turmoil between the two, but they seem to be working together quite well here when they're having guys like Suzuki come over and shit like that. So that's cool. That's promising. And we'll see where it takes Kenny along his journey. No, Jason, I can't. At my age, I think my days of challenging people at Extreme Rules are over. Plus, I don't want to hurt them. So I'm trying to look out for their health and safety, and I'm not trying to cost anybody their livelihoods by fucking them up and putting them on the injury reserve. But also, I'm a little bit old, and I just don't feel like kicking ass anymore. I'd just rather be here on YouTube hanging out with you guys because it hurts less. They're going to do Lesnar and Bobby at Survivor Series and Bloodline versus The New Day. Could be good. Jackie D. I think of Jackie D from 30 Rock. Liz Lemon. Oh, Jackie D. I missed that show. Anywho, I think that's probably going to do it. I think if you were a wrestler, you'd collect hats. I love that. Yeah, some people like to collect other shit. Some people like belts. Some people like hats. Some people like shoes. We'll see. Anyway, I need to get out of here now. Like I said, I've got a little bit more editing to do because I've got a classic pay-per-view review to drop on you guys tomorrow. It's a great one. It's a trip. It's a 33-year-old show or a 32-year-old show, but if you're a young fan, I still recommend you listen to it because it's a fucking hilarious show. and a lot of action and a lot of fun. You can check it out on Peacock if you want tonight. If you're bored, go to Peacock, pull up WCW, Great American Bash 1989. Give it a watch. Tune in tomorrow for my review. It's fun. I promise it's fun. So you guys have a great rest of your night. Thank you for joining me this evening. Be sure you hit the thumbs up out the door. And if you're not subscribed, do it because I'm here all the time. Shoot over to Twitter at GoodMikeWork and hit me with a follow as well. We are scratching the surface of 5,000 followers over there. We used to be above 5,000. We dropped during the election last year. So trying to get back above 5,000 followers over on the Twitter. If you could help me out, I'd appreciate that as well. Have a great Monday, and I will catch you guys tomorrow for the pay-per-view review and Wednesday night for AEW Dynamite